back? Cool. Good evening, everybody. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for coming. It really means a lot. My name's Steve Marks. I'm the Global Products Trainer, Specialist, whatever you want to call it, for Blackstar. I've been with the company for just over 10 years now, believe it or not. And tonight we're looking at some of the more recent Blackstar products that we've got out on the market that we really hope that you enjoy, and we're also sort of designing for the way guitar players play today. So whether it be at home recording, in a live scenario, we're trying to answer a lot of those questions. So whether it be a small power amp on the floor, which Jamie will be using for the most part, and he's been using in some recent theatre shows and stuff like that, or whether it's the lightest valve amplifier in the world, 50-watt valve amplifier that's really lightweight. All those really great innovative things that we do as a brand, we're really super proud of. So to start things off, to give you guys a little bit of a taster,
Hopefully not a bad taste.
Jamie's going to play a couple of tracks to get us going, but I wanted to introduce Jamie. He's a very, very good friend of mine. I've known him a long, long time. Jamie used to work with Blackstar a lot, and still does to this day with his Six String Alliance YouTube channel. I've seen Jamie on stage playing with Brian May. He was in Brian May's band for a long time. I've even seen him with the Australian Pink Floyd at one point, I think. He's played with Henry Rollins, toured the world pretty much, and he's a phenomenal guitar player.
Now I live in Stockholm.
He does.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And we've also got Michelle Taylor here as well, my good friend Michelle, who actually runs the Blackstar Appreciation page on Facebook, which is a great place to be and a great thing to follow if you're into tech and Blackstar products. There's, what's the current followers on the page now, Michelle?
I think it's over 5 to 6,000.
Yeah, 5,000 to 6,000 followers of Blackstar fans, Blackstar users, and there's loads of people talking about their experiences with all these products. And whenever Jamie does a fantastic demonstration, I have to say, Jamie's demonstrations, does anybody subscribe to Six String Alliance on YouTube? If you don't...
They've never even heard of it, Steve.
If you don't, please do, because Jamie's videos, out of all the videos online, are the most thorough and detailed. And Jamie composes a track from scratch, incorporating all the features of the products that he's using, which is phenomenal. It's like next level. So make sure you subscribe to Six String Alliance. But I'm talking a lot. Let's hear a couple of tracks from Jamie, and we'll talk about some other gear once that's done.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to play a couple of little pieces. These are kind of tracks that I do for my YouTube videos. I haven't done a guitar show in a long time, and this is actually a little bit more daunting for me than when I was just playing Globen a couple of months ago, seeing like, go on then, play. So the thing is that I'm not really an instrumentalist. I'm more about, I'm what you would probably call here a chut och patatis guitar player.
Yeah.
So I'm just the meat and potatoes. So a lot of these, the tunes that I write are more based on trying to make like a little mini piece, if you like. So, you know, there's a bit of a riff and a bit of a solo, whatever. So anyway, I also really have an unhealthy fascination with Van Halen. So basically most of my tracks are rip-offs of Van Halen. And that's exactly what this first one is.
Yeah.
That's very generous of you. But do you want to do another
Yeah,
one?
please, yeah.
This next song, so when I write these songs, normally I kind of dictate the tone accordingly to how the track is written for the demo. I am actually later on going to play the demo track that I wrote for using Amp 2, and Amp 2 for me is kind of taken over from that sort of, you know, going out and, oh right, I need an amp, I need this or this, and you can just turn up with that in a cab. And it just does so much. It's just, I just love everything about this thing. And normally when I write stuff, I make the tones very specific, but for the ease sake of how I'm operating, I'm just going for a generic rock tone. So this track is based mildly to satisfy my slightly unhealthy fascination with weird neoclassical music, which is not so much Yngwie, although I do live in the same neighbourhood as Yngwie at one point, which is pretty cool actually, living in Sweden. But it's more the Jason Becker sort of style, the slightly exotic scales, bending outside of notes and stuff. But there's also a real heavy dose of Michael Schenker in this track. So hopefully I can remember how it goes. They're clapping. Did you give them money? Right.
Or beer.
Very nice, mate. Thank you. So, do you guys know much about the history of Blackstar? Would you like me to give you a short version of the history? Yeah? So, Blackstar was born in 2007. But 4 guys left Marshall Amplification in 2004 to begin their quest for innovation, R&D, really looking into what makes amps sound as great as they do. Very passionate people. And to all leave Marshall collectively at the same time was a huge risk, as I'm sure you can appreciate, for working for such an iconic brand. Okay? So these guys were trying to bring things to design that often didn't get the chance to be allowed. So they became frustrated and they took some time out. They lived off their wives' salaries for about 3 years. And 2007 Blackstar was born, but at that point 2 or 3 other people from Marshall jumped as well. So really they started the company with a lot of heritage, even though it was a brand new brand. So when Blackstar first began, we came out with some amazing products. Series 1 and Artisan. Artisan was hand-wired, boutique, point-to-point product, really beautiful. In fact, In the store here, there is an Artisan 15 head, which is just down there, which is a beautiful amplifier. So that type of amplifier was the type of thing that you would plug in, turn everything up to 10 or 11, and it would be Pete Townsend, Angus Young in a box, and Brian May for that matter. Flip side of that coin, we had Series 1, which were multi-channel amps, big heads, combos, big cabinets. And when I saw Jamie playing with Brian May in my hometown of Birmingham, if anyone's into Black Sabbath, that's where I'm from. When I saw Jamie play with Brian, he had 2 Series 150 heads, I believe.
I actually had 3.
3.
But it was essentially a stereo rig with 2 Series 150s.
And it sounded fantastic. Brian was very complimentary as well, wasn't he, of the stuff?
When I did Hyde Park with Brian, I used an Artisan 30 head. And that sounded ridiculously monstrous. That was really nice.
Yeah, can you imagine? So after that initial push, we had, alongside those 2 Valve products, we had Valve pedals as well. They were originally called HT. HT stood for high tension, high voltage. That kind of product still exists in Blackstar's catalogue today. In fact, the most current version of those pedals is called Department 10 Dual Distortion, Dual Drive, which I've got here ready to show you shortly. But these pedals are driven with a Valve 12X7 in there, 2 channels, separate volume and gain stages, global EQ. These new ones have a product within them called Cab Rig. Cab Rig is a big part of what we're doing at the moment, which we'll talk about tonight. But Cab Rig, you can design your direct tone, very much like an impulse response. It's all within the product. All that's remotely controlling it is an application on your PC or Mac. So that's the kind of product Blackstar came out with many years ago. Shortly after that, we did a product range called the HT Venue, which again were a stunning amplifier from 40 watts up. In fact, no, 20 watts to begin with.
Where did HT5 fit into that?
So HT5 and HT1, Jamie was heavily involved in the launch on those, and they are in the store. You can try them out maybe another time, but HT1 and HT5 was actually a product that was born from our Japanese partners who approached us and said, we love the sound of these Valve pedals, it sounds amazing, but if you could put that with a speaker, a small speaker, you would sell so many, because there's no other amp brand that have done a small tube amp that can have high gain. And Blackstar were the first company in the world to have a 5 watt and a 1 watt small mini amp. Every company followed suit after that, but that's what Blackstar is all about, innovation. And Jamie will tell you a little story about, I think you got like maybe the first one of them.
The first ever gig I did for Blackstar was for the launch of the first HT5. And that was actually my payment for the gig. I got paid an HT5 stack, and then through working more with Blackstar, I was getting ready to do the launch of the HT5R. That was the second generation one. And so they basically said, oh look, we got these 2 amps, which one do you want? I went, I'll have that one. And it's number 1 on the serial number, handwritten, and there were 2 different tone stacks that were being, preamp stack with the gain, and the one that they went with was a slightly lower gain, but my one has the other gain structure in it, and it is so gainy. It is like, imagine putting like a monkey wrench, getting more gain out of this thing. It's unbelievable, this little amp, and I used it in a video recently. It's just an incredible little amp. And they have the stereo reverb, digital reverb on it, and the direct recording out. It was a real innovation, that amplifier, that you could have a Valve amp at that price point as well. That was
that small.
You could just take it and DI it. Didn't even have to run it into a cab.
Yeah.
Really, really cool.
And since that point of Blackstar's middle of the career with HT Venue, Blackstar stepped into the world of digital amplifiers, and the first products to come out were ID series. Jamie was heavily involved in the promotion of ID as well. In fact, me and Jamie met around that time properly. And since then, Blackstar has become a household name globally. because we stepped into the world of the home practice market, small mini amps. Things like the Fly 3. This is a common thing that you will see now from lots of brands, but the first company to make a mini amp that actually sounded like a real guitar amp was Blackstar. Before the Fly 3, you had mini amps from Marshall and Vox and Fender, and they were often more of an impulse purchase. They look great. They look great in the office. Hey man, see my amp? You know, the little amp. But tonally, it was never quite there. But the Fly 3, would you mind plugging into a Fly 3 for me, mate?
Not at all, mate. I've just actually been using the Fly on I just did a theatre run of We Will Rock You using Amp 2 as my main setup, but because it was direct, can't get feedback, so I would send my signal into another volume pedal, and I had a Fly in front of me, so when I needed feedback I just push it down and it would get the guitar feedback in, which you'd hear out of the amp. It's fantastic.
So this is a mini 3-watt amplifier, right? It takes 6 AA batteries. The battery life is tremendous. I can't remember the last time I bought batteries for mine, but 6 AAs. It also powers off an adapter. You can use it as a mono piece of kit, or you can actually do a stereo setup. It's a full range speaker in there as well, so audio sounds great if you jam into tracks.
They do sound really good.
Yeah. But let's take a listen to... So more of a cleaner tone. So one of the things that was really hard in those other alternative small amps was to get a really nice clean tone. So with low gain, musical. Again, if you drive the gain on the clean, it starts to bite. Overdrive channel. There's also a built-in tape echo delay, so you can kind of manipulate a small room reverb if you like. You can open up the delay. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's really nice.
A great sounding product, and we're very proud of the Fly 3. Has anybody heard of the NAMM show?
Yep.
When we released the Fly 3, it won the best at show product for a little mini amp, and the booth was absolutely full of every guitar player under the sun wanting to check it out. We're very proud that the likes of Joe Bonamassa, Phil Collin from Def Leppard, Phil X, Bon Jovi, Joe Perry from Aerosmith, all use, Jamie Humphries, all use the Fly 3, and those guys that I've mentioned aren't necessarily endorsees. They use it because it's a really lovely amplifier. That's the important thing, right?
When I got mine, I had the option to get it with the second cab, so I've got the dual speaker set up, and it just sounds so big. It's just it's great. It's a really fun thing to have. And
Yeah.
do you still do the thing, the Bluetooth link thing?
Yeah. So you could.
Yeah.
I mean, this one in particular is actually the Bluetooth version.
Oh, that one.
But we do a Bluetooth adapter that you can use in any product with an auxiliary in to pair with your phone and play tracks through here.
Sounds great. You know,
Yeah.
when you're playing your backing tracks through it, it doesn't sound muffly and crap.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good sound.
Specifically, when I travel a lot for the company, this comes in my suitcase, my guitar on my back. If I'm in my hotel room, I've got the opportunity to jam and do some writing and some ideas. So again, just an innovative product. If you looked inside here, the construction of the plastic is actually exactly the same as how wooden cabinets are constructed. That's a lot to do with the tone. There's a lot of R&D that goes into Blackstar gear. So moving on just quickly to talk about what Jamie was actually using. We've recently brought out a series of power amp pedals. They are called Department 10 Amped. Amped is an abbreviation of amp pedal, amped. We have an amped 1, an amped 2, which Jamie was using, and an amped 3. Let me just hold this up for you so you can see. This is how the larger units look. This product is super important to sort of understand that it does a number of things. I mean, one of the first things to mention is it's a USB interface. You can plug this directly into your computer and you can record from here straight to your machine. One of the key things we wanted to build was a power amp on the floor. So I'll talk about what each of them do, but specifically if you look at the back of the panel there, you can power a cabinet at 8 or 16 ohms. If you're using a traditional amplifier and you turn up to a show, you can go in with your guitar and out. If you use the output and go into a normal traditional input of an amp, you bypass the power amp stage of this product. So you're just using the gain stage, the EQ, but not the power amp stage. And you can also go direct. So for any guitar players that are using in-ears, silent stages, theatre shows, this will allow you to go direct either via stereo with a splitter or mono with XLR or USB for that matter, USB-C. There's a little switch there. This area is called cab rig, and this three-way switch lets you store your own cab rig preset, and that will exist of a choice of cabinet, a choice of microphone, whether you want it on or off axis on the speaker. You can also EQ that tone. You also have an opportunity to change the room mic ambience, so there's a couple of simulated stereo mics, whether you want it in a larger field or a shorter close-up tone, just to give you an ambient feel. There's nothing worse if you are going direct than having a completely dry tone. It's nice to feel like you're in the room. And this type of technology exists in a lot of fantastic products these days. There's a full effects loop in there as well. There's also MIDI. It comes with MIDI adapters, so you can link this with your MIDI setup. There is a DC output, power output as well, so you can power pedals from here. You'll notice Jamie is powering his Ernie Ball volume and tuner pedal from the amp with a small cable coming out of the back. So this will power up to 500 milliamp of extra pedals. And one of the great things as well is it powers anything from 100 to 240 volts globally. So you could get on a flight and go anywhere in the world with this as your 100 watt rig in your bag.
Should point out as well, the only reason I'm using the volume pedal is because I'm blind, but it has got a built-in tuner as well, so you don't have to have a tuner on the side.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, Amp 2 has the tuner. So they all have their own story. They were all designed at the same time, but we staggered the launches, so the story was there. So I'll show you exactly what they do.
What's the difference between the red one and the black one? The black one is more metal, I guess.
Well, it does have a higher gain stage, yes. But I'll explain where we're coming from with the story. So the way I've got, so what you were hearing from Jamie with the track there was Jamie is powering this St. James 2x12. The head, you'll notice there's no inputs on any of these heads. We're not going in the front end of a head or an effects return of a head. Straight into the We're also taking an XLR feed straight out into the desk, going through the front of house to mix in with the tracks that Jamie's playing. For me, I'm just going to not use the PA for a moment. I'm just going into the blonde 212 behind Jamie. So I've got a really long speaker cable that's going around the back there. So, so this is Amped 1. Amped 1 is a one preset that you can store on this product. It has 3 preamps to choose from, 5 power amps to choose from, with also a linear power amp. So we've designed this to be able to be used with pedal boards. So you've got an amplifier on your board that you can put all your pedals in the front end, things like overdrives, crybabies, wahs, whatever it is. We've also got an effects loop on there, so you can put your time-based effects and things like that through there. I can also power pedals from there as well. But we've also included a flat voicing and a linear response, as I mentioned. They are there so you can use this in conjunction with high-end modelers, multi-effects profilers, quad cortex, Kempers, whatever it is, Helix, to bridge the gap between a digital modeler and a good old-fashioned cabinet. Because a lot of guitar players that are using those products, as I'm sure you're aware, will often miss the feeling on stage of something near you. Even if you're on in-ears, it's really nice to feel something behind, kicking air. So a lot of guitar players tend to buy a small PA speaker. And a PA speaker with a tweeter isn't the same as a 1x12 or a 2x12 or a 4x12 cabinet. It just doesn't feel the same. That's where these pedals come in, especially Amped 1. So I'm just using Amped 1 on its own at the moment. So if I wanted to show you a flat voicing with a linear response, no reverb, it's just completely dry. No colour to it whatsoever. Just a neutral 100 watt power amp that I can then put my product in with the preamps I've chosen and the power amps and so on. I can run any of these. Jamie's running his quite low, believe it or not, but I can run them at 1 watt, 20 watt or 100 watts. So with everything at 12 o'clock, I'm going to put my USA voicing on with a 6L6. This is the 1 watt mode. This is 20 watt. And then 100 watt. Really great to have that on there, so you can really tailor the sound on stage. I've jumped headfirst into using this. When I'm playing shows at home, I have a pedal train, lots of nice pedals on it, and if I've got room in my car, I'll take a 2x12 with me. If I haven't, and it's a small gig, it's a festival, on and off stage very quickly, I just take an XLR out to the front of the house and I'm good to go, because I've stored some Cadbury presets that I really like the sound of. So the way I run the Amped 1 is on a UK voicing. I'm just going to give you my example here. I use an EL34 power amp tube, splash of reverb, lower the bass a touch, push the treble, take it to 20 watts for now. I'm really happy with that sort of sound with the gain around about 1 o'clock. Nice kind of Marshall pushed, right? Nice. So I'm going to store that as a preset. So I'm going to press and hold the preset button. It takes about 5 seconds to store that sound. Then I've got my preset stored, but then when I take my preset off, I've got my physical layout of the controls where I just lower the gain to around about 10 o'clock. So the gain on the preset was at 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I've turned it down for my physical layout. So the way I run it is basically like an old sort of plexi style amplifier where I'm jumping the channels together when I need to. There's my main tone. So I can back off if I want to get a bit cleaner. Push it onto a humbucker. When I put my preset on, it's the same tone just with a slightly high gain. That's how I set mine up, and all my pedals in front do the rest of the work. The maximum gain you're going to get out of this pedal is this. It's not high gain, it's not metal, it's just a nice bluesy rock tone. A great platform for things like overdrive pedals, tube screamer, that kind of thing. Sounds great. Really, really good. Nice and easy to use. And for those, I'll lift it up in a second, but what I want to show you now is one of our Department 10 pedals, which I can't lift.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Does it break up sooner when you use it in 20 watts?
Yeah, so the master volume acts like a true master volume on a tube amp.
Yeah.
So the more you push that, if you turn it down to 1 watt, the more you push the master, the more you get that resonance and breakup of a power amp. Yeah. Yeah. So I've got a dual drive on the floor here, which is one of these pedals. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can use this direct as well. USB for recording, XLR straight out, cab rig is built in, but I'm not going to use the cab rig output, I'm going to use the standard output, so I'm treating the Amped 1 as an amplifier head, right? So I've got my patch cable here, I'm going to plug that into the input, and I'm going to plug my wireless into the input of the pedal. So if I just lower my gain, so I'm treating it like an amp that's just clipping. So I can put an overdrive pedal in the front end. So that's just a quick demonstration to show you whatever you got on your board. If you've got some pedals that you love, the amped pedal can take it really well. So the difference with Amped 2, which is what Jamie's been using recently, so that's the Amped 1 for those that are back there. So really cool bit of kit, cab rig on the side there, just a great pedal. So going into Amped 2, there's my speaker cable, my long speaker cable. I'm going into the input here. So right now we are just going to the cabinet, but I'm going to include a direct signal as well shortly, so I'll show you how easy that is. So again, 1 watt up to 20. With the master around halfway. So you can run this in a number of ways. The amplifier section has, like Jamie said, 3 preamp choices and then 3 power amp choices. So I can quickly, because I know this product inside out, I can quickly go to a US voicing, I can select a 6L6, I can put a splash of spring reverb, and instantly in that sort of Fender world, right? In the front of a Fender, what might I like to put in a drive? I might like a fuzz. The fuzz reference for this product, we chose a sort of classic electro-harmonics fuzz type tone. Keep it a little more subtle, I can choose drive, lower the gain so I can get a bit more of a bluesy thing. Right? My amp, and there's my stomp box in the front. Real simple. I could go for a UK voicing and an EL84. I think this is where Jamie sits because it's very much like an AC30 kind of vibe.
That's where on the Rocky I'm using a different one today, setting today.
So with an AC30 vibe, a bit more bounce there, a bit more gain. I can lower the gain on that, and I can put a boost in the front. So, you know, if I add, I've got a chorus set on here, I think. Might be a phase actually. I need some glasses, I think.
Do you want to borrow mine?
But so what I've got running there is a nice semi-driven sort of EL84 AC30 type amplifier with a boost. You know where we're going with that. Just a really nice sound straight from the box. And then we've got a classic voicing, which for me is very much like a nice Marshall. One thing that I neglected to show you on the Amped 1, it exists on Amped 2 and on Amped 3, is we have a freeze function for the reverb. So you can press and hold and you get a real nice tail of reverb. Check it out. When you let go, it doesn't just disappear, it fades. So you can have some fun with that. If you were doing some cleaner stuff, let's say, I'd try and use it a bit like a sustain pedal. Of a band, it sounds fantastic, so you can have a lot of fun with that. You can do the same with the delays as well. I've got a nice basic sort of delay there. So you can really shape some ambient sounds with that. It's very cool. And like Jamie said, you've got chorus, phaser, tremolo, harmonic tremolo, flanger, so there's a lot of choice there. But it's not like a preset situation. It's like an amp with some pedals in the front end. That's how the Amped 2 works. They all have MIDI, so if you have a MIDI controller, Jamie did some stuff with MIDI, I think, where you actually changed a few things. If you get something with 9 control changes, you can do a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, I have a very basic MIDI board that I was able to, I'm going to now change this one using a different front end effect, modulation effect, or different stomp effect. It was really easy to set up.
Yeah. And there's a built-in chromatic tuner as well. So Amped 2 is more like the all-in-one solution. You can also add pedals to it easily as well. Before we move on, I want to talk a little bit about the software. It's not going to be that easy to show you guys, but we're currently plugged into the Amped 2 to Architect. This is the cab rig layout. But what I wanted to show you was, this is the cab rig section. It's a very simple line drawing setup, and you can adjust your cabinets. So if I click on my cabinet choice, it gives me 25 cabs to choose from for my direct solution. I can then go for my microphones, which gives me 2 dynamics, 2 condensers and 2 ribbon mics. Nice and easy to use, and you can change it on or off axis. That will change the tone dramatically. There's a lot of EQ here. Here's our room ambience as well, so we can adjust the size of the room, the type of the room. We can even mute it and solo it as well. So I'm going to run through 3 of the presets. When I change them on there, for the keen eye that can still see, the image and the mic will change, the image of the cabinet will change. But let's plug it into the PA. So we're going direct. So what I want to do is at least put it down to 1 watt, so you're not being blinded by this here. Still coming through the cab touch. Here's my XLR. So I've got a small monitor here that I can hear a little bit when we were sound checking, but hopefully it's connected to the front of the house as well. Let me take the cabinet out of the mix. So there's no cab on stage now, just direct. Here's my cab rig presets that are loaded in. These are stock presets. And like I said, you'll notice it will change there. Here's preset 1. 3. They're just 3 distinctive different setups. I really enjoy one, and I tend to leave it on that if ever I'm going direct. Quite like that. So as far as a high gain setting on here, if we're on a classic setting and the gain's pushed, we've got a drive in the front end of that amp, pushed all the way. This is the maximum gain. Still shreds, still sounds really good, but Amped 3 is where the high gain comes into play. There's a lot of high gain on here. So Amped 3, thanks Roger, I can turn that down now, thank you mate. We'll go back into the cabinet situation. Amped 3 is more about, here we go, presets, patches. So on here we've got a clean channel, a crunch channel and an overdrive channel, both with 2 options of voices each. We've got 3 power amp responses, a boost whether we want pre or post within that patch, gain, EQ, Blackstar's ISF, the infinite shape feature, which is a huge part of Blackstar's history. It gives you tone stack representations of American or British style tones. We've got reverb and we've got a boost on and off. So it's a 3-channel amp on the floor. So I think these are some of the presets that are loaded in, but clean. Let's see.
You're wireless.
I'm a wireless. Thank you, my roadie.
Never take the roadie out of Pete.
So, stick it at 20 watt, splash of reverb. So, the clean on this preset from stock is a 6L6 warm clean by the sounds of it. Again, it's got the nice reverb hold. Crunch. EL34. Nice. Overdrive, I think it's an overdrive 2 out of 1 and 2. And more of a metal sound, would you say? Definitely tighter. The maximum gain on here, let's see where the preset is at. Let's put the boost on a pre 6L6. Let's take the reverb out of the question. Give it some high-end presence. Lower the bass a little bit. ISF American. You can of course add anything you need to if you want to push it even further. So that's the amp pedals. I've been talking for a while. Let's hear some more tracks and then I'll come back to some of the other stuff. Yeah?
Took me a bit unaware.
Sorry mate.
That's all right.
Just want to give these lovely people a little bit of entertainment in between the serious stuff.
I got a question though.
Yeah, sure.
Does the red one have everything that the white one has, and the black everything that the 2 mini ones has, or they're
individually
completely
very
individual?
different.
Okay.
Yeah. They sound very different. They do different jobs.
All right.
So one of the things that I've found as a salesperson in the UK, where I spend most of my time, is when this came out, some of the store staff had, oh, you've replaced the other 2 quickly, and it's not about that. It's different. They were all designed collectively together. It's different jobs for different guitar players.
I've got Amped 1 and was using Amped 1 at Christmas with a very really basic effects unit actually, a Moore red truck, cheapest of the cheap, and it just sounded fantastic.
Yes,
running
it does.
It's a great unit, isn't it? I was running.
At 12 o'clock, it effectively leaves the circuit. So it's got 2 types of EQ tone stack, what we call dual EQ. So the EQ on the clean channel is very much like that of a twin. If anybody's ever played through a twin, you will know that if you turn your EQ down, you lose all your volume. Whereas if I put on my second channel, just by a switch, the EQ kicks back in because it's a different EQ tone stack. Really quite clever. So So let's introduce the treble, the mids, and the bass. Turn it down slightly. So across to my second channel, you'll notice that it's a little bit more gainy, but it's not high gain. Like I said, it's based around an AC30 top boost, so the gain is roughly around about 3/4 of the way up there. If I push the mid all the way up, we get the mid boost. We also have a 10 dB lift on the power amp. Just a lovely, warm, smooth tone. This takes pedals really well. I'm a real big fan of this. This is more of the high gain. You've got a lot of gain in there, so you don't necessarily need a lot more going on if you're that kind of player. So the maximum gain on this particular amp is that what you heard. Let's increase a bit more the top end. Real nice, spanky. Into the 6L6 version. Plain channel. Bit more sparkle, would you say? 6L6s. Really nice. Onto the overdrive channel, I'm going to start with the gain relatively low. I've got the foot switch in here, so they do come with foot switches. That's with the gain stage around about a quarter in, so we're sort of leaving off where we ended here. Let's increase that gain as I go. We have a separate boost switch which essentially loads in a different voicing, more modern. That's 2 watts. Not changing the tone at all, apart from the level. We're pushing it about halfway there. So they are super loud when you get them pumping. We have the heads and the 2x12 vertical cabs, and we also have twins 212s as well. So before I leave this alone, I'm going to put one of these amps at the front as well, ready for you guys to take a look. Oh. There you go. Single finger, right? 50 watt. 50 watt 1x12. One of the big things about the weight is Celestion designed us a special speaker. It's called a Zephyr. We based it around a vintage 30 speaker. It's a ferrite speaker with a magnet, but a lot of the weight has been stripped away. So it was a huge research and development thing for them as well. Something new that they'd never done before. Also, the transformer is a switch mode power supply. It's an SMPS power supply. Don't let that put you off. It's not a vintage heavy duty coil transformer. That's a heavier part of a valve amp chassis. All the voltage and all the current you need to run a tube amp is there and more. Full reactive load, Great price points for what they are. Vintage and modern. I'll let you lead the way, mate, with those extra tracks.
Oh, is it down to me now? Now I have to play the hard ones. Okay.
Let's look.
Thank you, Steve.
No worries. No
Steve's
worries.
presentation. So, are we bored yet of my weird little songs?
No.
No? Sure. Alright, what one do I play first? I might attempt something. I keep saying this, I might attempt something. This one's quite hard. I have another guitar player that I really like, who was one of the reasons why, as a young lad, I wanted to get a Music Man guitar, and that was Steve Morse. And I've had the opportunity to play with Steve many times. He became a good friend of mine about 20 years ago, and I wrote a tribute track to him, which I'm going to attempt to play. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing this actually. Alright, here we go. We're going to try this. This might work. This was a track that I wrote for the Amped 2 demo, and I might have to ask Steve to help me with this track because it requires, there was lots of different parts that I did, so playing this live is quite a mission, and it was only a mission that I managed to accomplish half a time through this morning. So again, I need to check I've got this on the right setting because I'm going to use one of these strange little gizmos to give it some... There you go, something like that. I can never remember which setting I'm meant to have this on. I think it's that one, we'll go with that. So at some point, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to take it and then I'm going to hand it back. So this could really be crap. Also, just to mix things up a little bit, I'm going to kick in the phaser as well. I never really have a clean sound per se, so this sort of... Thank you for coming, Victor. Enjoy your gig. See you soon, man.
Take care.
So I'm going to use a phaser on this. So there's a little bit of messing around. Hopefully I can remember all the parts. If I forget the parts, the solo section's quite epic at the end, so you'll forgive me for any sins that occur earlier on. And as usual, if I play any wrong notes, they're not wrong, they're just in a different order. Here we go. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed that one as well. There's some counting, isn't it? That's what it was. I kind of like that sort of progressive-y, Floyd-y Radiohead
Yeah.
with a bit of... You see? Hey. Look, I can't even take a guitar off of a rack without getting confused. How much more time have we got?
Couple more, I'd say.
Oh, not a couple. Do you want a couple more? Do you want one more? Do you want two more? Do you want no more? That's it. You want one more? One more?
Two more.
Well, let's do one and then we'll go from there, shall we? And see how bored everyone is. All right, yeah.
A little question.
Of course.
Can I look at your settings?
My settings?
Yeah.
Of course you can. Yes.
I just bought one today.
I saw you bought it. Yeah, so I'm on the classic voicing
Okay.
and I'm using 6L6. Normally I'd be on chorus, but I changed to a phaser for that last. And then I'm just using overdrive. I use either boost or overdrive, but I'm using the overdrive and just a linear delay.
Yeah, and the watts you...
I'm on 20 watts because I don't want it too loud coming at me from behind. But
Cool.
you'll have a lot of fun with it. Plugging yourself into the guitar isn't as good as plugging the guitar in. That's always a... Right, I'll play one more then, and we'll see if that's enough. This one's also a little bit awkward, but I'm up for the challenge. Right, here we go. It's live.
Yeah, well, thank you so much everybody for coming. I hope you've learned some things about Blackstar. Thank you to Deluxe for having us here as well. Thank you very much to Jamie for coming out and playing and performing, and great to see you again.
Yeah,
mate.
it's good to see you too.
Good to see
mate.
you.
It's been a while.
Michelle, lovely to have met you for the first time today. You do so much good work for Blackstar, so thank you. And Please ask us some questions. Come and have a feel of the weight of these amplifiers. You'll be really surprised, I think. But thank you so much.
Thank you.